tweet is sent. You count to 10. You've got them running for their life. Dumb Republicans in all the years. No one knows just how hard you worked, but now it shows. Fake news proponent, it's all on the line. Your dumb opponent canceled in time. But time is short. You really hate 'em. So many dumb hicks. You must educate 'em. The tweet is sent. You count to 10. You've got them running for their life. Brainworms, Jen Rubin.
Democrats are set to take control of the U.S. Senate, House, and the White House.
This will go down as one of the most progressive administrations in American history.
God willing, everything is on the table.
You now can pass things without a filibuster threat.
You'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Oh, what a glorious entry. I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is the finest One Shining Moment that has ever been sung.
Truly the voice of an angel, folks. I mean, that's the way you wrap up Hack Madness. That's doing it justice.
The people demanded it, and I'm just happy to be able to deliver for the minions. You know, I think, you know, we operate under the Huey Long rules of podcasting, and that is every listener is a king.
That's right.
And when the listeners demand One Shining Moment, I'm happy to deliver.
Absolutely, you sang, and I felt like I played like a Simon and Garfunkel role here in penning the.
That's right. Lyrics by Josh Holmes.
And
for the Grammy nomination committee.
Really delivered.
Holmes was the auteur, the visionary. Really a visionary for the entire direction of this operation. I'm merely his muse.
Well, no, let me just say, an artist is only as good as his instruments. And,
there you go.
And this instrument is brilliant. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It has a rich tone. I mean, what's not to love?
I'm telling you, next year it better be a sweep of the Grammys. 100%, every category.
I don't know what awards we're up for. Like, I don't know who gives awards for podcasts, but if they have them, they should give them all of them.
Every last one.
Yeah, every one of them.
So we should jump right into the reason for the season, folks. Hack Madness has concluded. We had like a half a million votes cast, and
incredible,
and an absolute nail biter in the finish for the championship. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2021 champion, it's Jen Rubin.
Jen Rubin.
And a close match, a very close match. And I have to give a shout out to Red Steez, who made a late charge for Cuomo. It just wasn't enough. I mean, it was a very close battle. 50.2 to 49.8. She put it all on the line. You know, you can't argue with a champion who has, every single day has put out the takes, the brainworm takes to deliver.
Well, that's the thing is, there were so many different stories in this entire field where, you had to wonder how some of these folks would perform in the absence of Trump. Like you saw Acosta fades early. His entire career is defined by trying to just get attention off of Trump, and there's nothing left in the tank.
A sign of the times, for sure. And I would say it was a proxy battle a little bit. You mentioned Steez behind Cuomo. Steez last year was behind Stelter.
That's right.
And Ben Domenech was behind Rubin, and he got beat. This time Ben got behind again Jen Rubin, and she won. And I gotta say, I felt like the online activism, the whipping of votes that was happening behind this was really pretty impressive.
I mean, there was some fascinating. Someone brought up, Duncan, you saw the tweet, right? Of Steez is out there ballot harvesting.
Right. Yeah. The late absentee ballots are coming in for Rubin.
I mean, it was something. So we had like 20,000 votes cast in that one matchup, and the difference was 78. That's incredible.
That's incredible.
That's
I just got to say it. And look, I hate to bring up the Pod Bros, but I mean, they put together a bracket, basically stealing our idea for Hack Madness, and they called
Absolute
it
knockoff.
the
Total knockoff.
March Badness tournament. I mean, the lamest shit you'd ever fucking heard.
And these people were Obama's speechwriters.
Right.
And the best they can come up with is March Badness.
Completely unoriginal. And our final had more votes than their entire tournament.
Did they even count? Like, you listened to the garbage. I couldn't even turn it on, but apparently they had it was politicians and of course, Mitch McConnell won their March Badness tournament, but didn't they just decide amongst them, or do they have a vote for it?
And therein lies, I mean, a total difference of philosophy between our two podcasts, right? Because their tournament was, I mean, Tommy Vitor is the MC, and one of the Johnnies or the Tommies or the Timmies or whoever, has to vote. One of the Timmys and Tommies and Johnnies votes, and then another Timmy, Tommy, Johnny votes, and whoever they vote for goes forward in the podcast or in the bracket. And but us, what we do is we put it to the people.
Bingo.
That's right.
We say, here is our bracket, you decide.
And the minions are so strong. God, I just love every day. I have more respect and more reverence for the minion. The memes that were out there.
It was incredible.
The campaigning amongst each other from the very beginning. If you look at this bracket, there are a few teams that came together that had a special 2021, and they went deeper than they probably ever would just because of the circumstances. I put Cuomo in that category. Clearly, Weaverman is in that category. Bill Crystal might be here to stay. I feel like he's positioned himself to be a multi-year contender.
I think Aaron Rupar has staying power.
Yeah.
I think Taylor Lorenz, although she sort of underperformed her seeding this time, has some staying power. Look, I mean, we are in a post-Trump world right now. For Acosta is a perfect example, as you mentioned, Smug. It's like, where are these people going to find their niche in this new world? I think there's going to be a lot of disruption. It's going to be interesting.
My prediction is that a year from now, you're going to see a lot of these Lincoln Project clowns fall off.
Yeah,
they don't have the staying power. You're going to see a lot of journalists quote journalists have a hard time calibrating. Yeah. Because they're used to if they used to write a headline, if it had the word Trump, they know they're getting clicks. Now they have no idea what to do. You've got Stelter, who just is clinging to Trump, who will just be like, so today it rained. So you know what happened when Trump was president and it rained? Trump did this. It's gotten really sad. It's jilted ex-girlfriend can't let go situation with Stelter. I mean, it's tough. I think just how embarrassing he is it gets attention. But I'm really curious what his strategy is going to be going forward.
But the potato's so strong, Smug.
Yeah. I mean, no one doubts the potato. That's for sure.
God,
I also I want to give a shout out on to Canine Defense League on Twitter, who made all these brackets. And by the time you listen to this podcast, he's going to drop a One Shining Moment video that he put together of all the contenders. So also be on the lookout for that. The minions, your efforts are always appreciated.
Totally. And they just make this competition. It is just, it literally is my favorite thing. I think it's so hilarious. And there's begrudging respect amongst serious journalists.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're and I have a couple of people on this who are actually friends who made the bracket, and they think it's hilarious too. Right. They think it's funny too. And I just, as much that we can put into the development over a year of who gets seeded, who's making a run, we'll do that through King of the Hill and everything else. God, I love it.
And this community is just the most powerful force on the internet. I have to say it. It's 500,000 votes in this tournament is incredible. But think about all the good we've done. We raised $10,000 for Feeding America, just on the strength of this podcast and Twitter. And our good friend Matthew Foldy, who we need to get on the pod. We got to get him on soon.
Well,
he's cut that hair.
He's getting that haircut, and then he'll Only after we get his haircut, he's allowed on the pod.
Are you taking him to Truman's?
I'm figuring it out. New York isn't in the best shape right now. I don't want to take Foldy up there for a haircut. He doesn't make it back.
A lot of problems. He's like, yeah, no, we'll take him to Truman's. No problem. He raises 10 grand. Smug's like, what? Truman? No, I don't remember anything about that.
You know what I think, Smug? I think what you got to do is we got to get a stylist to come in to your place and cut his hair live on the pod.
I'd be down for that.
I think that's the only way to
I'd be down for that.
Is there any way that maybe we'll just sandbag him on it and they'll shave male pattern baldness into it?
He hit the 10K. We can't do that to Foldy now.
We said nothing about, well, we did say it was professional, but we didn't
that's
say
a good point.
I mean, I don't know. I'll leave it up to the professional.
I just want to get some stages. Like I wanted to do it, like get the fade on the side and preserve the mullet, take a picture, then cut the rest. I feel like that's fair.
No, that's good. It's a thoughtful way of handling it, I think.
I think so.
But hats off again to him for getting it done and raising 10K. I mean, a lovely.
And that's another reminder, folks. So Feeding America, wonderful charity. They support food pantries across the country. So many Americans, especially during COVID, have been, we don't need to tell you about the hardships out there. And especially at the food pantries, they've been saying a majority of the folks who have been visiting for help, this is the first time they've ever needed any sort of assistance. The job losses, the absolute trauma out there has cut very deep. And Feeding America, for every dollar donated, they provide 10 meals. So that's just unbelievable.
One of the most rewarding things about the program is that you can not only have fun, you can laugh, you can make fun of stuff, and you can talk about serious issues that you should be engaged upon, but you also do some good in the process. And I just hats off to the Minions for engaging in that and actually making that charity work, because it's really rewarding. I mean, from my standpoint, that's the best thing we've done.
Absolutely. So we have a very, very exciting show today. Who do we have on, Holmes?
Well, let's just start with a sponsor. We got a sponsor. WinRed is sponsoring this. They've been a long-time supporter and wanted to sponsor a program. It happens to be at a very good time because we're going to talk about some issues. They've been the victim of fake news.
It's been happening a lot to conservatives lately, right?
It's been happening. We'll explain. We're going to break it down, so you understand completely why this is happening. And then we have the best, just an absolute all-star interview with Senator John Kennedy. Yeah. Just a stud.
Yeah. I don't think I even need to say anything to intro him. The man needs no one to speak for him. He's a man of 1,000 quips. I'm excited he finally got a chance to get on the show.
I was thinking about trying to get in there and give him some Southern colloquialisms to get him warmed up, but I was like, I'm just going to get crushed. So I'm just going to let him go. And you'll love the interview. God, the guy's so good. He's the best interview in DC, and he proves it again on this program. So
outstanding.
So
well, let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's start with the WinRed. So you'll recall that all of January, there was a campaign by the media to try to suggest that the Republican Party was basically done for because corporate America had decided they were no longer contributing to Republicans because of the election, because of the disagreement over certifying the electors, all of that. And corporate America, I think soup to nuts, decided that they were going to make a woke statement and say, we're no longer contributing. Whatever you think of that, fine. The media took that to say, that's the end of the Republican Party. If they're not supported by corporate America, then they're done, right? And then over the preceding 6 weeks, they found out the Republican Party is not funded by corporate America at all, right? That it's actually funded by small dollar donors across the country. So this is a real problem. And the corporate media is looking around and trying to figure out, all right, we got to take a next step to figure out how to cut these guys off. And if you look at the FEC report, it's very clear. There is the vast majority, it's probably up around 80% of the funding for the Republican Party comes from small dollar donors, and the processor is WinRed. So you got to attack WinRed.
Yep.
Right? So enter the New York Times, faithful partisans over at the New York Times.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, they decide they're going to write an expose, and the theory of the case behind them is they're going to attack internet marketing, which, by the way, is the way that internet marketing has worked for the last 15 years. They attack all of the methods of internet marketing that has been offered by Act Blue, the Democratic side, for the last 15 years. But because WinRed did it, they're going to attribute it to WinRed. Right?
Well, I mean, before anything, that's something I really, really want to get into that just proves what a bunch of garbage this is Act Blue for 15 years has used internet marketing, the same techniques to help get candidates to raise money. For 15 years, they've been at it. WinRed has existed for what, like 1 year?
Yeah.
And boom, the New York Times is attacking them.
All of a sudden now they have a problem with internet marketing.
It's
just
weird.
Incredible.
In the past 15 years, they didn't care when Act Blue did it. It's kind of weird. It's like, is there some sort of a bias here, folks?
And you got to read like 17 or 18 paragraphs down in this story, which is an attack primarily on the Trump campaign. The story was the Trump campaign basically deceives voters with reoccurring donations and whatnot. And I want to talk about this, and I want to bring Duncan in on it because it's very specific marketing that has been going on for decades that Democrats have actually specialized in. And the first time that Republicans ever get on the playing field, all of a sudden now it's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I I think what WinRed did for Republican politics is level the playing field, undoubtedly. What we've done with WinRed is we've given Republican candidates an opportunity to raise money online at the sort of scale that's never existed before. And, like Holmes said, it's like in January, every corporation and every media outfit across the country was saying, oh, we can't give money to Republicans anymore. And now they want to cut us off at the knees with small dollar donors. And, small dollar donors are the lifeblood of politics. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's what we should want.
Yep.
And now the media wants to stop that because they know that's the only way to stop everything we want to accomplish.
And what's so galling about it? So I know a lot about this because I have some history with it. I actually showed up at the end of the 2018 election upon direction of Addison Mitchell McConnell, then majority leader of the Senate, now Republican leader of the Senate, to say, how do we fix this problem? Can you get together with, the folks at the Congressional Committee, the Senatorial Committee, the RNC, and the White House to see if you can figure out a way to set vendor interests aside? Basically, can you figure out how to convince people that their own bottom line is not as important here than the collective interest of the party? Can we set it aside and get on the same platform and actually reduce prices for candidates in fundraising and provide a platform with integrity that can actually assure your, average donor that they're not donating to some scam pack?
Yep.
Right. And so I went to, the NRSC, the NRCC, the RNC, White House, Garrett Lansing at WinRed, and we kind of put our heads together, and they came up with this really elegant solution that took literally months to negotiate because there's tons of legality, there's rate negotiations, there's all kinds of like very serious things to make sure that donors never get screwed. Because that's honestly, that was the directive. The directive is make sure that donors have faith in this process, because Republican donors, unlike Democratic donors, are pretty astute.
Yeah.
Like they pay attention to this shit.
Yeah.
And so we went through all that, went through the contracts, delivered the product. Ultimately, WinRed, Garrett and WinRed that stood up and solved the Act Blue problem. The huge deficits that we had were all of a sudden minimized. We're not there yet. We haven't erased it, but we certainly mitigated the huge advantage that Democrats have by the invention of WinRed.
So this is, you need to, for the audience, it's important that you get this like 30,000 foot view of what's going on here. So what the Dems have been able to establish with Act Blue is this nexus of the media, right? Where like Rachel Maddow can come on and she can say, oh, this Republican is bad. Oh, wow, Governor DeSantis is killing people. And Act Blue makes it so that it's super easy for her viewers, for Dems to just rage click and donate. Yep. Because it makes it simple and you get your account and it's actionable at a grassroots level. You can raise tons of money. So the media just like juices them up, gets them mad, and then they just hit the Act Blue button. And what they're terrified of is that now the Republicans have created their answer. Now there's a way for Republicans, it doesn't matter if this is the first time you're running and, you don't have support among every local leader. This is the first time you've ever been involved in politics. If you run and you can show that you're filing all the legal paperwork, WinRed is going to help you donate. They'll give it an easy way for folks across the country to be able to give you a donation with one click. So the Dems are mad now that, oh no, in the arms race, the Republicans have finally answered.
Yeah, and look, I believe in disintermediated politics. I believe in bringing politics to the people, and that's what WinRed does. The same reason that the media attacked Facebook after 2016, Russian disinformation and this and the other thing, it's all bullshit. It's bullshit. Yep. What they hate is that people have access to information. People have power.
Yes.
They're mad.
They're so mad.
Right. The most undemocratic people in politics is our corporate media.
Yep.
Period.
Like, look what they did to the Hunter Biden story. They all banded together and blocked, now that we know for a fact it's true, information from the voters before an election. And they're okay with that because they want to maintain their like weak control on that information pipeline. They want to make sure that, hey, it's the New York Times, CNN, and Washington Post that tells the American people what to think, what's going on, and we have no competition. And this is the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's part of the reason why Ruthless exists, right? Is because we wanted to talk about. I mean, look, Democrats are all in league. It's as Duncan said, it's the corporate media that flacks the story, that puts it out there, that generates the outrage, that ultimately results in Act Blue donations. We don't have that on the Republican side, right? Like Fox News, all the Democrats hate Fox News. Fox News talks about Fox News things, right? They deal with a lot of great content, but it's not, they're not out there campaigning for Republicans. They're not flacking websites. I remember when Amy McGrath announced against Mitch McConnell, she had 4 hits on MSNBC on that day, starting with Morning Joe, where Morning Joe Scarborough himself asked her 4 separate occasions to give her website, the name of her website, how you spell it, on his show in order for all the viewers of MSNBC to donate through Act Blue. Like that's the way that Democratic politics work. Yep. Republicans don't operate that way, right? But we're going to refocus.
Yeah.
Right?
That the way that it's a part of their culture, that when you see something and you get mad, they go to Act Blue. They hit the button. Like the same way, like I remember when I was watching DeSantis on Tucker, I was like, see, the one difference between when you see the hits on the Dem side is MSNBC host and the candidate are going to be flacking the donation. They're going to say, hey, visit this website if you're mad right now. Hit me with a donation. Let's fight this. We got to get that culture on our side. When I saw DeSantis on there, because that was an absolute hit piece.
Yep.
Absolute hit piece. And it's because they know he's in cycle. He's up for an election. That's why they're trying to do this. So the same way that they have created that kind of muscle memory on their side, we need it on our side where when they come after our folks, we can hit that WinRed button.
That's right. That's right. So I think the bottom line is that WinRed solve the Act Blue problem. They're in the crosshairs because the media has now figured out that we have a people-powered motive behind all of this. And when it came as a shock to all of them that we weren't corporate funded on the conservative side, right? They actually believed their own hype. Yep. Nobody read the FEC report, but you hear forever, oh, it's the party of the rich. Oh, really? Really? Because 85% of the donations come from people who are contributing $50 or less. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense. So now they have to attack this. I have faith in WinRed. I put my name behind it. I think we can continue to innovate and make sure that people have faith going forward. We can continue to lower rates. We can continue to make sure that people are as well served in terms of lead on the target as possible through this operation. And do not let the corporate media try to convince you otherwise.
I mean, that's their whole game right now. Is they just want to smear and just hobble conservatives as much as possible. They don't want you online. They don't want you to have a voice. They don't want you to be able to help our candidates. They want you gone. And the corporations are with them. It's become very clear who's with the people and who's with the corporations. And the Dems do not want our grassroots people to be able to help in the cause.
Yeah. Fuck them. Go to WinRed. Go to WinRed and donate right now. And let's make the Republican Party less reluctant to stand up to these corporations because they don't want to have our interests at heart. And that's absolutely fine. I think we should donate and make the Republican Party a people-powered movement to change America.
Can I do two? I know we didn't plan this, but can I do a couple of minutes?
You can do whatever you want. Hey, hold on. It's Josh's birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. It's Josh's birthday. So I will give him 2 minutes to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Oh, that's just how generous. How generous. Listen, the corporate thing has become a real stick in my side because forever corporate America has given the left everything that they want in terms of, statements and hat tips to the woke, whatever, and then relied on conservatives to uphold a market-based economy that actually lifts people out of poverty and provides jobs and creates wealth in this country. And they just can't take it for granted. This group of crooks they're so weak. They're so weak that they have decided at this point in time that they're just going to try to avoid all pain. They don't give a shit about voting rights. They don't care about anything, really. But the woke left has pressured them into issuing all kinds of statements about nothing that they know about. They don't know anything. I'll tell you what, I've spent a lot of time in this area. Voting rights and campaign legislation is incredibly complicated, but it is you shouldn't be surprised to know that both sides try to implement things that advantage themselves over the other, right? So that's what Democrats are doing. And they're the whole thing is a campaign to try to pass HR 1, to try to give Democrats the ability to go into low income places and ballot harvest with people that they don't know, that aren't plugged into politics, that decide that, like, hey, just give me your ballot. I'm going to fill it out for you. I'm going to compile all of them and I'm going to rush them to the polls. That's one. Two, no ID at the polls. No ID, right? Same day registration. You could be registered in like 5 different counties, right? There's a whole bunch of problems there. And this is an integrity issue that we've been dealing with. And corporate America, honestly, has weighed in to a point because they believe that you as a conservative will never push back. That the only pressure, the only pain that they can feel is from the woke movement. They never believe that a conservative will actually stand up and say, I'm not buying a Coke. They never believe that because, we're sort of principled. We operate in a market-based economy.
they're going to extort American democracy for $100 million by moving it out of Georgia. And my message to you is that we should disintermediate this entire process by donating on WinRed directly to Republicans who stand up to this bullshit.
There we go.
Immediately. They're going to take $100 million from working class people in Cobb County outside of Atlanta. And the only way that we stop this is we say, we don't need these corporations. We don't need their PACs. We don't need their super PACs. We go to WinRed and we donate to the people and the politicians who will stand up to this nonsense.
That's such a good message. And you know what? There's a way of doing it with a candidate fund. I haven't even looked into this. I don't know if anybody's doing it already. I'm going to check around. But there's a way of putting a candidate fund together where you can actually contribute to the Republican candidate fund that ultimately the Republican nominee is the recipient of once they're the nominee. And we're going to look into that. We'll make sure that everybody that's listening gets that information. Look, there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to solicit contributions. What you can get from Ruthless is an absolute rock solid guarantee that this is an integrity-based candidate fund that ultimately will go to the nominee 100%.
This has me hot. This has me really, really hot. And so, you know, we'll figure out a way to put it together, and we will come back to you with how you can make your dollar go the furthest.
I love it. Well, I didn't know this was going to go this direction, but I think it's right.
This just, it pisses me off. It really pisses me off that we have corporate media trying to cut us off at the knees when we're trying to raise money, grassroots money, you know, to power our politics. I thought this is what liberals cared about. Of course, all they care about is that the corporations side with them. They don't care about corporate media at all. They don't care about corporations at all. All they care about is that corporations side with them in politics.
God, you're singing my song.
It's complete bullshit. They say, oh, these corporations have too much influence in our politics. They don't fucking care. They don't care at all. They just want the corporations to agree with them.
Listen, I love this.
I love the based Dad Duncan cameos. They always are a hit with the crowd.
And you should see his face is red.
I swear to God, man, I am a very normal person. I'm a nice person, a polite person, but this shit just gets me so fucking angry.
He's mad, and I love it. It's my favorite Duncan, really.
You know what we should do now that we've helped dispel some of this fake news out there about WinRed. We should give the folks a fun segment with Senator Kennedy.
Absolutely, Smug. This is a great interview. Let's go right to it.
I want to welcome to the Ruthless Variety program a guy that we have pined to have on the program because he's the best interview in all of Washington, D.C. since the first moment he became a senator. Senator John Kennedy, the great state of Louisiana. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Josh. As I was telling you earlier, life is good. Without it, I'd be dead. So I'm a happy man.
You seem like a happy man. You always bring a glass half full view of sometimes a pretty dark and desolate time.
Well, you know, I don't hate anybody, and I really do try to see grace everywhere I look. Now, it's hard. That's challenging some days in Washington, D.C. I always tell folks when I come back to Louisiana, you know, it's great to be back in America because Washington D.C. is Washington D.C. You know, forget Mars. We need to look for intelligent life in D.C.
Yeah, it's fewer and further between these days. One of the things that has been popping up that I think is driving a lot of discussion this week is Georgia and their voting reforms and the sort of manufactured outrage on the left trying to make this basically something that it's not and producing all kinds of, you know, fake news for I guess that's the term of art now.
Yeah.
What do you make of all this?
Well, I get the part that my Democratic friends are playing. I mean, that's all purely political. They want to pass their bill Pelosi's voting bill. I think it's HR 1, which takes everything that went wrong in the last presidential election and makes it the law. So they're going to, I get their political angle. What I don't get is the reaction of Major League Baseball and many members of our business community. I think any fair-minded person would take a look at what Georgia did and say, whether you agree or disagree, it was an honest effort to try to give people confidence in our electoral system, which is important.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't have a peaceful transfer of power without people having confidence that the election was legitimate. And I don't want to go into the last election whether that it was legitimate or not. What I'm talking about is perception. And this was an honest effort, particularly when you compare the end result to the voting laws in other states. This was an honest effort to try to get it right and to return to having an election day instead of an election month.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty balanced view. I get where the Democrats are coming from, but I mean, let's take Major League Baseball. I don't know the commissioner, and he's entitled to his opinion, but here he's in charge of Major League Baseball, which used to be America's favorite pastime. We know they're slipping in terms of their popularity. Football, I think it would be fair to say, is the most popular sport in America. So he's trying to grow fans.
Yeah.
How does he do it? He alienates half of America, for God's sake. And
it doesn't seem like a great business decision.
By basically saying Major League Baseball is now going to be a blue sport.
Right.
I mean, that's a special kind of stupid. In my opinion.
It is. Well, here's what I don't understand, because it's spread far beyond this particular baseball commissioner. It seems to be kind of the new operating theory within corporate America. Is basically you take whatever the woke agenda is pushing, you get bullied and backed into a corner, and you just sort of, without facts, adopt basically everything that they're saying. And this has been, over and over. We saw it with all the tech companies over the summer. We saw now, with this Georgia Voting Rights Corporation's coming. What's going on with corporate America?
I don't know. I think they're making a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I think if these CEOs held an hour or two long press conference and said, I've read the bill, whether it's a proposal in Congress or a proposal in the state legislature, let's discuss it. Here are the pros, here are the cons, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. And I've really thought about this. And on behalf of my company, I'm taking this position.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would agree with that approach, because the CEO's position is to maximize profit for his or her shareholders. But I would respect that. But too many CEOs are just they're taking these knee-jerk, not thought through positions. It's just like they're getting up, they're reading what the Bolshevik woke left is telling them, and then they're saying it. And I don't see the higher justice or the wisdom in that. I don't see how that's helping their shareholders. And if their response is, well, I don't just have an obligation to my shareholders. I have an obligation to stakeholders, to the world at large. That's fine, but I don't want that person as the CEO of a company I'm going to invest in.
Yeah, no kidding. no kidding. I mean,
and I thought at first, Josh, I said, well, trying not to be too cynical, these CEOs are doing this because they think it's going to protect them from President Biden and Pelosi and Schumer. But if you believe that, I'm sorry, when your IQ gets to 75, you ought to sell. That's not going to protect them. And indeed, it hasn't. I mean, Biden has just proposed the largest corporate tax increase in the history of ever.
Well, that's the thing that's most confounding to me, is at some level, basically you can reduce their argument to Republican position on voting rights bills is racist. But please, Republicans, help my business by protecting me from the Biden administration. And I just don't understand. At some point, as a senator, when you look at these folks who are just making incendiary claims basically about you and your office and Republican Party writ large, but then they expect you, because of your ideological proclivities, to sort of protect their business model. I mean, that's got to be getting hard to swallow.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to punish them or protect them. I'm going to call it like I see it.
Yep.
And I think that's the way most senators are. And the idea, if this is their idea, that somehow they can curry favor with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez so that she will leave them alone, they're dreaming. They're tripping. That's just not going to happen, and it's not realistic. Now, what could be going on, and I hope it's not going on, but we clearly have a managerial elite in this country, and by that I mean the entrenched politicians, the bureaucracy, certain members of the media, many members of the media, academics, and corporate phonies. And these people think that they are smarter and more virtuous than working Americans. They do.
Yep, they do.
And they think that they look down on middle America, and they think that we're all a bunch of deplorables. I mean, you can express it in different ways. And there are many people, not just in politics, like that. Right. And that's part of what the American people are reacting to. I mean, a lot's been made about why Trump became president. I think Trump became president for two reasons. Number one, people voted for him as an insult to the managerial elite. I mean, that's how much people hated Washington, D.C. And second reason people voted for President Trump, if you notice, he never talks down to people.
Right.
He doesn't. And he doesn't act like he is better than them. And that's what people are so fed up with, in my opinion. And these CEOs and the Major League Baseball commissioner and all of these folks, they may have a summer home with a long driveway, but that doesn't make them the recipient or the reservoir of all truth.
No
There's an old adage. I forget who said it. I think it was a Polish politician. I don't remember, but he said, he was a very smart guy. He said, seek out or keep the company, he said, of those who seek the truth. Run from those who say they found it. And these CEOs, they like, we already know the truth, and y'all ought to shut up and listen to us. And I don't think that's the American way.
Oh my gosh, really well said. I want to hit another issue. You were down at the border a couple weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago. Obviously a terrible situation down there. What do you make of what's happening?
Well, thousands of people flooding into the country. The border's 1,900 miles long. We were in I think a 56-mile stretch. In a 24-hour period, 3,000 people came in, and they're now in the country. I think it's clear that President Biden he believes in open borders, and he plans on adding 2 to 3 million people this year to America through illegal immigration. And these aren't just folks coming from the Northern Triangle countries or from Mexico. I talked to probably 50 Border Patrol agents. A number of them told me that something like 50, as best they could count, people from 55 different countries had come through.
Wow.
And this is dangerous. It's expensive. Most, not all, but many of these folks are going to join welfare. It puts downward pressure on wages, and it unreservedly undermines legal immigration.
Yeah, no question about it.
But
yeah,
I mean, if you're serious, look, I like Vice President Harris. I served on Judiciary with her. But as I said the other day, I mean, she believes in open borders. Putting her in charge of illegal immigration is like making El Chapo the drug czar. I mean, come on. You know, she believes in open borders. So why are you going to put her in charge? And I think they just believe in open borders.
Well, they also apparently believe that nobody listens to what they say, right? Because you had Vice President Harris, President Biden on the campaign trail last year. Every time they were asked about their border policies, would essentially say, you know, we don't have one. It's wide open. Do you want to provide health care for illegal immigrants? All hands go up.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly people were listening to that. And now we're dealing with the ramifications of all of it at the border on the backs of the American taxpayer.
Well, look. I think that President Biden is doing this intentionally. I think he thought he would get a pass from most members of the media.
Mm-hmm.
He made a huge mistake when he told them that they couldn't go take a look. Yeah. That's when a lot of the members of the Democratic media turned on him. But when somebody acts like they don't care, sometimes it's not an act.
Yeah.
And I think the president doesn't care about the folks coming in, because if he did, he could just go pick the directory of Border Patrol agents and pick one at random and ask them what we ought to do. And he'll tell you, because I talked to a bunch of them. He'll tell you, just go back to doing what we were doing in December. And, Mr. President Biden, eliminate your moratorium on deportations.
Incredible. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's really simple. It's really not complicated. And, you know, they either believe in open borders or the guy or gal Biden has in charge of immigration policy is not qualified to manage a hot dog stand. And I don't think it's the latter. I think they just believe in open borders.
Hot dog stand notwithstanding. I think you're right. One thing that I've noticed lately, I lived through the 2009 all Democratic government in the Senate, and it took us a while to get back on our feet politically.
Yeah.
And I look out now at the work you all are doing, staying unified, and really drawing sharp contrasts. And I feel like the Renaissance has started earlier. I feel like there's more energy on the conservative side building back here than there was even in 2009 when ultimately we had this huge comeback. Does it feel like that to you?
Yes, but it's early.
Yeah.
As you know, Josh, the Senate is a very interesting place. The most interesting people I've been around, I think. Big egos. Probably 2/3 believe in God. The other third think they are God. You know, Republicans are a little bit different than Democrats. We are more politically entrepreneurial. That's a polite way of saying we've got some free-range chickens that kind of wander off on their own. And it's harder for us to achieve unanimity than it is for the Democrats. Yeah. It just is. But I think we've held together pretty well, and it's because so many of the policies so far in the first 100 days of the Biden administration are just grotesque.
Yeah.
They're obscene. That's not a personal comment about the president. I'm talking about his policies.
Right.
I mean, he is not, the way he's acting, he's not left of center. He's left of Lenin. and I don't think the American people are going to be kind to his policies in 2022. I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think they're doing a lot of work for us, but I think you guys are doing a lot of good work under the dome too. I've got to get to 3 questions for you, Senator, that I'm sincerely interested in. The first
I'd
one,
ask you a question first.
oh, you shoot, yeah.
Give me your best guess of what McConnell's blood pressure is. I think it's 80 over 40. Okay. Every now and then, this is the calmest guy I've ever seen in my life.
I think that's probably a pretty good analysis.
And he's 100% Fox, you know? He just kind of sits there. And this guy is fascinating to me. I know you used to work for him.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked.
Yeah, well,
I'm thinking I think his blood pressure is 80 over 40. And I think he's one of these guys that he controls his breathing so he can never show emotion.
That is some astute analysis. I remember just a quick story. When I first became his chief of staff, I was walking with him and we had this big, gosh, I don't know, it must have been like a fiscal cliff or something, because every camera in America was following us around with the boom mics and all that nonsense as he was walking through the halls. And we walked into that elevator by the whip's office, you know, the small one, and they had boom mics all in there and everybody was, you know, sort of shouting at him. And it seemed like endless, right? I'm a press guy and I'm uncomfortable with silences anyway. So I'm standing there. I want to jump like anywhere but right there. I'm going crazy. And they're yelling questions at him and he just stands there and not a muscle is moving in his face. He's just staring right at him. Finally, they pull the boom mics out after what seemed like an eternity. And he gets this like wry half grin and turns and says to me, "It gets a lot easier when you don't care what they think of you." That's him.
Well, he got mad at me one time. I was new, and we were having a controversy about something. We were in the majority. But when I said this, I wasn't thinking of Mitch. Some member of the press asked me about all the chaos, and she said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, if the American people are watching that, they're wondering how any of us made it to the birth canal." And the next time I saw Mitch, he said, "John, I obviously made it through the birth canal." I said, "Mitch, I wasn't talking about you. Don't be so sensitive."
That's good. That's good.
Anyway, what were your questions?
Okay, all right.
What were your questions?
Here, the first question, these are very revealing. Your last meal on earth, Senator Kennedy, what would it be?
Well, first I would ask for one more meal.
Yeah, right.
Know, but if I had to, they said, "No, this is it." It would probably be Popeye's fried chicken. I love fried chicken. Popeye's fried chicken is the best fried chicken God ever put breath in. I haven't eaten it in about 20 years because it's not great for your heart. But I would get Popeye's fried chicken, a side order of dirty rice, probably some onion rings, and about 6 of their biscuits.
I love that. That's a great order. And you thought that through. That there's a number on the biscuits too, which is really important.
And then I would go into a food coma.
Well, you only got 1 day left, right? So
I've only got 1 day left. That's right. What the hell?
All right. Second question. If you weren't involved in politics, what would you be doing with your life?
I would practice law, but I wouldn't do it like I used to do it. I wouldn't do it 80 hours a week. I would teach. I used to teach law school at LSU. I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
I would spend some time substitute teaching. I've been a substitute teacher, a volunteer substitute in our public schools since 2002.
I didn't know that.
I do it about 3 times a year. I would do that. I like to read, and I read a lot of things in my day job. But when I'm relaxing, I like to read fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try my hand at being a book critic.
Huh.
And I would eat Popeye's fried chicken.
And the whole time. I love it.
The whole time.
All right, final question. This one's very revealing, Senator.
Okay.
What motivates you more, the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat? And the way to think about it is like the agony of defeat guy is like Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
he's motivated entirely by this just hatred of losing, right? And then the other side is just the thrill of victory, the moments and the thrill of victory, and that's what drives you.
Well, I think what drives me, aside from the effort, is the thrill of victory. And let me explain what I mean by that. Nobody likes to fail.
Right.
But I will tell you, there's an old Chinese proverb: fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Okay. I've lost my share of elections. I've won my share. I've learned a lot more from losing. I'm not scared to lose. When I was younger, I used to be. I'm not anymore. By victory, here's what I mean. Look, I like being a senator. I've never been one of these politicians that says, oh, this is a huge sacrifice, and they dragged me kicking and screaming. No, I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
And what I like about politics is not every day, not every week, not even every month, but every now and then you can hit it a good lick and move that ship of government a little bit in the direction that you think it ought to be going.
Yeah.
And that's what I consider victory. And that's what I like about government. I also like policy. If you like policy, there's no better place to be than the Senate or in government. And number 3, I hate being bored, Josh. In the Senate, you have good days, you have bad days. You never have a boring day.
Right. Right.
That's
true.
And you don't. And they're just interesting people. You don't have to be crazy to serve in the Senate, because they will happily train you. And the Senate works when we're not all crazy at the same time. You know what I mean? But it works.
Go in waves, like different
yes.
people. Yeah, okay.
Yes. But it's this collection of really smart, interesting people, all of whom care about America. But we share common goals. We just disagree on how to get there, and it works. And that's why I hope President Biden will leave the filibuster alone. I don't want to get us off on another topic, but he needs to leave the Senate like it is.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yep. No, here. Absolutely. Listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on. We've enjoyed this immensely. I know that all of the listeners of this are going to just love this interview. And you got a line.
Can you hear my dogs in the background?
No, you got dogs back there?
Yeah, they're in the bedroom. They're howling. Would you like one? You can have one if you want.
I'm up to my eyeballs in problems. I don't need another one. But
I understand. Thanks for having me, Josh.
You bet it, Senator Kennedy. Take care. Have a great day.
Okay, man. If you change your mind about the dog, call me.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for doing this.
Okay, man.
So, of all of the people that we've talked to, he's just so...
I mean, that is pretty rad.
He's so easy to talk to. I could have spent 3 hours talking to this guy. We had to... I promised his comms people that we would keep it... we'd have a time allotted. And I was so disappointed. I looked at the clock towards the end of the interview, and I'm like, oh, I wish we had like another 30 minutes, because he was just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as, travel opens back up, everyone's got their vaccines and such, I'm trying to get down to Louisiana, because I don't think there'd be a finer tour guide of like New Orleans than Senator Kennedy. I mean, can you imagine that?
What if Kennedy would do a Ruthless live in New Orleans?
We should do that. That should happen for sure. Because I've been to New Orleans. Let me tell you, that is a wonderful town. The restaurants are amazing. I mean, I had like grilled alligator, anything you can conceive of. They will cook it in Louisiana, and it will be delicious.
And
I mean, we should get Senator Kennedy on that.
Lovely representation as well. We appreciate Senator Kennedy and all that he's doing, and the lighter side that he brings to politics. Listen, Smug, this has been a hell of an episode.
Yeah, right. It's been good. We've been on a run. The numbers are great. We appreciate all our listeners so much. Clearly, everyone's been telling their friends and family to tune in and subscribe. The numbers keep going up, and that's because of you folks. Thank you so much. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Tuesday. Stay ruthless.